All right, if we could have this meeting come to order. Roll call, please.
Manuel Baca,
Present.
Jeffrey Baum,
Here.
Natalie Berg, Joseph J. Belinsky Jr.,
Present.
Danny Hawkins,
Present.
Lance Izumi,
Here.
Deborah Malumed, Henry A.J. Ramos,
Present.
Gary Reed.
Here.
Okay, Member Izumi, could you please lead us in the pledge?
Hands over your hearts, ready to begin. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and welcome to everyone. I just have a few comments before I turn things over to the Chancellor. This past month, I had the opportunity to travel with Chancellor Harris to a couple of events. One was the Chancellor's Circle down at Chafee's Chino campus, and certainly wanted to thank the board and the Chancellor there for hosting that. It was a good event. I think maybe the Chancellor might or might not speak about it, but quite a few individuals from the area there, well attended, and had a very good time as well. The salary surfer announcement was down at Grossmont. I had an opportunity to go there as well, and certainly want to thank Chancellor Mills and President Sonny Cook for hosting that. We had a very good event there. Grossmont has a cardiovascular program that we visited. It's a state-of-the-art. It's one of the ones that's very unique, and we've got a tour through that facility. Southwestern President, or Chancellor Melinda Nish also joined us there as well. But certainly want to thank the Chancellor and Vice Chancellor Perry for presenting a very effective update on the salary surfer. I think we've all received the system strategic plan, and again, that's a piece of work that dates back several years, but did need an update, and certainly Chancellor Harris and the staff, his staff have done a great work of getting that up to date and current for us. Certainly one additional tool that can be used there. I just want to kind of highlight maybe three things that are, I think, particularly critical, and just not to set aside because we're going to be talking about the Student Success Task Force and some other things today. But we are all aware of the situation at City College of San Francisco, and we'll be having a couple agenda items related to that today. I think it's extremely important, based on the accreditation announcement last week, to do everything in our effort to stay informed about the issues there, and certainly the Chancellor, with the appointed trustee and others, will, if it comes to vote today, will be working to resolve this. I have full confidence that we will be able to work with the City College of San Francisco in certainly getting the accreditation right on the right track. We've got a short time to do it, but we'll be fully dedicated to doing that because it's vitally important for the students there. And of course, just a couple other areas very quickly. Adult ed, I think, deserves our attention. We are in a period here where we will be, with the Chancellor and working with the other constituents in the adult ed area, will be working to develop a long-term plan dealing with adult education in the state. And the last thing I wanted to bring up was that dealing with veterans legislation. There are some things happening both in the state and federally, I think, that are critical to us being able to serve veterans. I think the position of this board has been that we do everything possible to encourage veterans. And that may very well include such bills as Assembly Bill 13, which deals with veterans from out of state. I had a recent conversation with a member of Congress down in the Palm Springs area, Congressman Reese, and he is on the committee for veterans in the House, and there is a bill, H.R. 356 by Miller in Florida, addressing tuition issues in the state. Now, I'm not quite sure where we end up resolving all of this, but there is some things happening with regard to veterans and their ability to fully participate in higher ed, whether it be in this state or other states. So I think it's just important for us as board members to keep in touch, in particular with those three very critical areas, as we support the chancellor's work and his staff. Just a couple other notes. Want to thank Jarena Storm and Ning Yang for their tenure as representing students. They're not here today, have ended their term, and we look forward to seeing a replacement on the board by student representatives pretty soon. And lastly, this is her last meeting, but I would like to thank Michelle Pilati of the Academic Senate for the work that she has done. Is she here? Did she slip out? There she is. Michelle, thank you very much. Anyway, she has been working for many years with the statewide Academic Senate in the last 2 years as Senate President, done a fantastic job. And certainly congratulations and welcome to Beth Smith, who will be replacing her. Okay, with that, Chancellor Harris, I will turn the mic over to you.
Thank you, President Brent. Excuse me, President Baca, members of the board. Just a couple of quick items. I certainly want to reiterate our appreciation to all of the colleges that hosted various activities over the last month on our behalf. The Chancellor's Circle, Henry Shannon and his team, the board down at that fine institution hosted us, and it was a great turnout. I also want to echo the President's comments about the rollout of the Salary Surfer. It really was two home runs 2 months in a row for the Chancellor's office. First, the scorecard that we rolled out in May, and then the Salary Surfer we rolled out in June. And again, I want to thank Patrick Perry and his team, Paul Feast and his, for really positioning the Chancellor's office and all of us in California community colleges to tell our story, both the good and the bad news, for a change, rather than too often being defined by outside forces. So it really is wonderful to take control of our own message and have some really good things about the great things that are going on in our colleges out there in the media, and at the same time admitting the challenges we're facing and how we're going to roll up our sleeves and deal with those. I also want to thank Dan Troy and his team, Vince Stewart and others, for their work on the budget. Scott Lay in the audience, Dean Murakami. There are a number of our constituent leaders. If you look at the way the state budget came out, and Dan will give you a bit more of a briefing a little bit later, but clearly the legislature and the governors were lined up almost perfectly with the priorities of our system, and that doesn't happen very often. Certainly hasn't happened often in the time I've been in California. And it is wonderful to see the priorities of the legislature and especially the administration dovetailing so well with what our own priorities are. Certainly the funding of student success, the restoration of access, the fact that our colleges have been so challenged on their operating budgets and a COLA, the restoration of some of our very, very important categorical programs, DSP&S and the EOP&S and CalWorks, just to mention three that were highlighted. It was a very good budget cycle for all of us. Now, that's not to say that there aren't a number of quite monumental challenges still ahead for us, including potentials for shortfalls in fees and property taxes and RDA backfill that we're having to deal with. But we're certainly in a much better position this year than we have been in the last 4 or 5 years. And then finally, I want to not only add my appreciation to Michelle for the work she's done over the past year, but also acknowledge another of our colleagues for whom the transition's taken place, and that's our Student Senate President, Rich Copenhagen. I don't see Rich in the room yet, but we'll get a chance to acknowledge him when he's around as well. But The truth is, the governance process in California community colleges is only as good as the people who serve in those roles, and Rich and Michelle are two fine examples, month after month, at consultation of representing their constituents and all of our colleges in what is a very important process, which is generating the advice and counsel of all of our leaders as we prepare to ultimately come forward to the board for policy changes and program implementation. Later today, you'll be hearing some work from Patrick Perry, very early work on goal setting, statewide goal setting. The next really important process over the next 2 months is for that information you get today to go to consultation. And people like Michelle and Rich and all their colleagues will look at that from every direction, will give us their advice and counsel. And so when we come back to the board, probably in September or probably in November, and seek ultimate approval of a set of goals, it will be a presentation to the board that is informed fully by all of the players. So Michelle, again, thank you, and thank you to Rich. That, at this point, President Baca will conclude my report.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the consent calendar, and I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent
Let
calendar.
me ask the Board of Governors to pull one item on page 18. There's a challenge that's been filed on item 13-157-010, the third item from the top of the page, Long Beach Community College District. There's a challenge been filed to that one, so as is always the case, if we get a challenge filed, we'll pull those off the agenda until that appeal has been concluded. So with that one exception, I would recommend the consent calendar for your approval.
Okay, I'll accept a motion with that change.
So move.
Second.
Okay. Board Member Izumi and Board Member Hawkins, second. Any further discussion? Yes, sir.
I just want to point out under the grants, because of being a faculty member that works on the student services side of the House, 2 grants that I think that are really important to continue, and I'm glad to see they're on here. The one being number 7, the Puente Project. In fact, it probably could use more money than what it gets, but that we are continuing it, I think, is really very, very helpful. And number 8, because it's something I use almost daily in my work, the money for the ASSIST project for transfer articulation, and it's very helpful in transfer centers to students, and I'm desperately waiting for 2.0 ASSIST.
Thank you, Member Belansky. Vice President Baum?
I had a question too. So this also represents an important step in the rollout of the program that Vice Chancellor Van Ton Quinlivan is overseeing, right, with the workforce development, and so that now the braided process will start going throughout the state. We'll see some of these centers up and running through these grants.
That's right. This gives that new cycle.
Okay. And is this the first time we've done it this way? Is this the first time we've done it this way?
In terms of the braiding,
Yes, right. So this will be the launch of that. Okay.
All right, any further discussion? There being none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the consent calendar is approved. Chancellor Bruckman?
President Baca, members of the board. We have a couple items to add to the agenda. The process, first of all, explain under the BOG Act, our normal process is that items must be posted on the agenda 10 days in advance of the board meeting. But the BOG Act has provisions for adding items to the agenda under special circumstances. And we have 2 items to add to the agenda here today. One is for the adoption of emergency regulation, and the other is appointment of a special trustee. The items can be added to the agenda on 48 hours notice. If there exists a need to take immediate action and a need for action came to the attention of the state body subsequent to the agenda being posted. Regarding the timing, the agenda was posted approximately June 30th, and the item that we were talking about, the City College of San Francisco accreditation issues, we received notice on July 3rd, so it was after the agenda was posted. The other criteria being the need action to be taken, considering the great seriousness involved with the potential termination of a college, like San Francisco City College. We feel it meets the criteria, but for the board to decide whether to add the items to the agenda, there must be a 2/3 vote of the board to add items to the agenda. With 6 members present, you can accomplish that. Oh, and I should have given Mr. Walensky an opportunity to speak first.
One quick thing is just a technical thing. I don't hear amplification, and so it's hard to hear. Is there room amplification in Jerry for this? In the-
My apologies. I will, for the benefit of people who may not have heard me, I'll briefly repeat what I said. But I believe Board Member Belinsky may wish to recuse himself. Okay. Do you want to, would like me to explain why, or?
The only reason to explain why has been advised by Chancellor's Office staff is the fact that I am a commissioner on the accrediting commission does present a conflict of interest.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you. Okay, as I was saying earlier, and I apologize for the technical difficulty, we are requesting that the board add 2 items to the agenda. Those items being adoption of an emergency regulation and appointment of a special trustee. The requirements for adding items to the agenda is that there be an immediate need to take action, and that the need for action came to the attention of the state body subsequent to the agenda being posted. We believe those criteria have been met. It is up to the board to take action. 2/3 of the board must vote in favor in order to add the items to the agenda, so we require a unanimous vote in order to add these items to the agenda. And if members of the board have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
I move that we add the items to the agenda.
Okay, Vice President Baum, motion? A second?
And just for formality's sake, I'd ask that we, if you wouldn't mind reading the statement in the recommended action, adopt a motion that the Board of Governors find there exists a need, et cetera.
Okay, so should I make that as part of the motion?
That would be great.
I move that we add to the agenda 2 items. Item 1 is the emergency adoption of a California Code of Title V regulation. And then item 2 is the appointment of a special trustee for San Francisco Community College District.
And if I may add to the district, that the need for action came to the attention of the board subsequent to the posting of the agenda, and there's an immediate need. Do you agree with that?
And due to those situations articulated by Vice Chancellor Bruckman, that we feel that
Thank you.
that there was an immediate need to add these items to the agenda.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice President Baum and a second by Member Reed. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the amendment to the agenda is approved.
Okay, so now we have 2 new items on the agenda. The first item to take up is the emergency adoption of a California Code of Title V regulation. That's Regulation 58312. And this is the regulation dealing with districts that are in fiscal and other distress.
One, I just wanted to point that should we have asked for public comment before taking the vote on the addition of the agenda items?
It's not required that there be public comment or that you ask for public comment. It's up to the board. If the board would like to receive public comment, you are free to do so.
Okay, thank you. So,
We'll receive public comment, IDs, right?
okay.
Make sure they're on this item and not the next.
Did you want
Yes.
to comment further on the first item? Chancellor Ruckman?
No,
Okay,
on the,
Before we
Yes,
have,
we did have two members of the public that did want to address the previous action that we voted on.
On putting things on the agenda?
Yes. Because they asked to speak to item AA,
Okay, well, then,
which was
I
the,
would say if there's a couple
Yeah,
people
this
that
is
want
the
to
first
comment,
one.
I would
We just
feel
take-
No,
more
that's
comfortable allowing them
item
to
A.
do that.
so so, Mr. President, if you don't mind, I'd like to recognize the public comment who suggested the adding of the items to the board agenda that they requested to address the board on that.
okay,
So I had two, I received two public comment cards for item AA, which was the consideration of the addition of the regulation and the appointment to the agenda. One is from Monica Henestrosa from the California Federation of Teachers.
hand Monica that microphone, Steve.
Good afternoon. My name is Monica Nestrosa. I'm appearing on behalf of the California Federation of Teachers, CFT, regarding agenda item AA, involving adding to the agenda the creation of a special trustee at San Francisco Community College District. I ask that my written comments, which I will provide to the board, be made part of the record of this proceeding. The CFT and the American Federation of Teachers, AFT Local 2121, vehemently oppose the decision of the Accrediting Commission for Community and Junior Colleges, ACCJC, to deny accreditation to City College of San Francisco, CCSF, effective July 2014. This punitive action by the Commission denying accreditation to City College, coming on the heels of numerous protests over serious conflicts of interest by the Commission's president and other representatives, as well as violations of federal and state law, reveals the extent to which the Commission is out of touch with its primary mission of working collaboratively with member colleges in order to assist them in meeting federal requirements for the benefit of their students. The Commission needs to be open to a rigorous and thorough review of their approach to the accrediting process by our elected leaders and the government bodies responsible for overseeing the Commission. ACCJC's decision to terminate City College's accreditation is certainly its most appalling decision, but the entire California community college system has been victimized by the high-handed, arbitrary approach that has characterized the work of the Commission under its current leadership for the last decade. Although we applaud Chancellor Harris and the Board of Governors for taking steps to appeal this unjust decision, we have both doubts and questions about the actions being taken today. Most notably, in the case of a disaccreditation of Compton Community College District, the ACCJC determined that the college was in violation of Standard 1 because it did not have a functioning board of its own. In affirming its 2005 disaccreditation of Compton, the Commission specifically relied on the continued appointment of a special trustee to disaccredit, writing, and I quote, "The Commission notes that the Chancellor chose to extend the authority of the special trustee in June 2005 rather than returning the operations of Compton to its Board of Trustees. Ultimately, we have a tremendous level of skepticism that the accreditation climate for California community colleges can normalize, or that the educational futures of the Bay Area's deserving students can be restored as long as ACCJC is allowed to continue operating with its current leadership and no effective oversight. Since last summer, City College has turned itself upside down to address the ACCJC's demand. Much has been achieved, but still, City College, which has served so many so well, is now facing extreme risk of a completely unnecessary closure. More than 80,000 students would be denied access to the quality education City College provides. We are additionally concerned that today's actions by the Board of Governors will contribute to significant downward pressure on this fall's enrollment. Without aggressive community outreach and a comprehensive public relations plan geared to bolster enrollment, something the administration over the last year failed at miserably, a downward spiral of enrollment decline, followed by a loss of funding leading to further shrinking the number of course offerings and then fewer students, etc., could ensue. We hope that in the days and weeks ahead we will witness a new commitment to openness, transparency, and accountability that will lead to a real inclusive process, allowing for the many dedicated people at the college and throughout the Bay Area to lend their support and participate in a process of renewal and rebuilding of this vital California resource. The CFT and AFT 2121 believe a robust, thorough, and transparent accrediting process conducted by qualified and legitimate educators and that engages the entire education community is critical to develop workable short and long-term strategies for strengthening academic achievement. We want City College of San Francisco to be an even stronger, better college, and we want an accrediting commission that follows state law, federal law, its own policies and procedures, and that works in partnership with its member institutions. Thank you.
The next card on item AA is from Dean Murakami.
Thank you, President Baca and Chancellor Harris and the other board members. With the Faculty Association for California Community Colleges, we do have some concerns about the appointment of the special trustee. The only other precedent that we have is with Compton Community College. And I just want to give you one quote from the letter that Compton College received from ACCJC. And I quote, "If Compton had come to the commission and applied for initial accreditation under circumstances where its board was not functioning and where all authority was being exercised by a state-appointed trustee, that application would not even have been considered." So this is extremely important in terms of your decision about the special trustee. We have to be assured that that this is not used against City College of San Francisco, that a special trustee is there. And the second point is that at the very least, that one of the major goals of the special trustee will be to have a fully functioning independent board of trustees at City College of San Francisco. So we just want to make sure that you have all the information and are cautious about the decision that you'll make, because the future of City College of San Francisco is at stake here. Thank you very much.
All right, in light of the testimony, anyone wishing to reconsider their vote to adding the adoption of emergency regulations and appointment of a special trustee to this meeting? Okay, there being none, we will proceed. Do we have any comments as well on the other two items, Linda? We do, okay. I'll entertain a motion to move on emergency adoption of the California Code of Title V regulations.
Right.
We ought to do the comments first, or take the, we'll take the action and then we'll, and then we'll do the motion?
And if you're ready to make a motion, I'd ask that you refer to the recommended action there on the first page and recite from that.
Okay. It is recommended the Board of Governors, in order to preserve the public peace, health, and safety or general welfare due to the serious crisis facing City College of San Francisco, adopt Resolution 2013-03, amending Title V, Section 58312, as an emergency regulation authorizing the appointment of a special trustee if a college is in jeopardy of losing its accreditation and subject to fiscal collapse and closure.
I so move using that recommended language.
Okay, Member Azumi, motion, second?
Second.
Member Reed. All right, can we have the public comments, please?
We'll start. The first card I received is from Raphael Mandelman. A trustee with the City College of San Francisco Board.
Good afternoon.
I'm sorry, one second before you go. As it states on the comment card, public testimony will be offered after discussion. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each, and please keep within this time frame.
Good afternoon, President Baca, Vice President Baum, Chancellor Harris, and members of the Board of Governors. My name is Raphael Mandelman. I'm an elected member of the Board of Trustees of City College of San Francisco, elected in November. I'm frankly outraged today. City College of San Francisco is a great institution that reaches and improves the lives of tens of thousands of San Franciscans every year in a myriad of ways. City College is a little different from other community colleges, and the voters and taxpayers of San Francisco have demonstrated time and again that they love their city college and that they are willing to pay real money to ensure that it can do a little more than other community colleges do. Now, plainly, City College has had and has its fair share of challenges, which is why over these last several months, as some have raised troubling questions about the integrity of the ACCJC and its process, I've maintained that the proper role for the trustees was to focus on fixing the problems of the college, not the problems with the ACCJC. When others argued that the original show cause sanction from 1 year ago was unjustified and unfair, I maintained that the level of sanction was beside the point. If we just address the problems diligently and responsibly, surely the ACCJC would recognize the massive efforts of the board, administrators, faculty, staff, and students. And clearly I was wrong. Nearly 1 year ago, prior to my joining the board, the trustees requested that the state chancellor appoint a special trustee who would have the power to overrule any decision of the board inconsistent with accreditation. He's had to exercise that power precisely 0 times. The board has shown extreme restraint, doing everything that was asked or recommended by the state chancellor's team, even as hotter heads denounced us and warned that we were ignoring a secret agenda to destroy or radically downsize the college. Just 2 weeks ago, the board unanimously approved a tentative budget for 2013-14 that included a reserve well above 5%, a $2 million surplus, and a 5% cut to faculty salaries. There was at least a path forward for City College at that time. Today, after the ACC's irresponsible and punitive announcement, the future of City College is in doubt, and the hotheads look to have been prescient. I'm grateful to the State Chancellor and this Board of Governors for your commitment to City College. And with your help, I fervently hope that it can survive. CFT and AFT 21 have just raised some very troubling questions about whether the action you are going to take today will actually avert the terrible outcome that we fear. Additional questions that are present are whether the college that remains in a year will look anything like the City College of San Francisco that San Franciscans love and in which they've invested so much. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Next is Jim Mahler from the California Federation of Teachers. And following Mr. Mahler will be Richard Hansen.
Good afternoon, board members and Chancellor. I'm Jim Mahler, President of the Community College Council of the California Federation of Teachers. I'm succeeding Carl Friedlander, and I'm pleased that my first Board of Governors meeting comes on a day where we don't have any controversial topics on the agenda. So I wanted to speak again against your adoption of item A and B. I think they're short-sighted, and I think it's too quick of a reaction. We just received the accreditation report findings Wednesday afternoon prior to a long weekend. And I think there needs to be some more time for us to all look at all of the elements that are involved here and get all of the stakeholders involved and really think of the proper way forward that we should be moving from this point. My colleagues read to you some statements before from a accreditation letter with Compton, and that pretty much sealed Compton's fate when they were trusteed. The Accreditation Commission used that as a way to further discredit them and to revoke their accreditation. And I would sure hate to see that happen in this case. So I don't see any reason why there is an urgency that we need to take this action today. I would like to see the board delay this and perhaps table these actions until we can have a meeting of all stakeholders involved to discuss this more thoroughly, what the repercussions would be of these actions, if any, and come back at a future date where we have all the facts in front of us so we know that we're making a sound decision not one that's going to lead us down the wrong path. The City College of San Francisco, they've already been given the death sentence, and our fear is that today's actions would be the execution, and there'd be no way out of it from that point. So I urge the board to reconsider this action today and to put it forward to a future date after such time all stakeholders can have a chance to deliberate it thoroughly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mailer. Richard Hansen from the California Community College Independents.
Good afternoon, members of the board. I'm here for the California Community College Independents. We're the faculty union covering 13 of the districts in the state. And we would like to support what our other faculty colleagues have said, but pretty much every speaker so far has pointed out some of the concerns that we have. The thing that I can attest to is that over the years leading up to this day, and several of those years, when we first entered the economic crisis, a number of us meet in the Bay Area for the Bay Faculty Association meetings once a month, and it's basically negotiators from Bay Area faculty unions. And we witnessed through that whole period efforts made by the local union of City College to address the problems that we're facing still today. So it's not like these have been ignored by the union. They've worked hard to address them, and I followed that through those years. For my group, the Community College Independents, I would just like to be on record supporting the concerns that you've heard here today. Thank you.
There are no further cards.
Discussion?
Yeah, obviously this is a very unhappy and unfortunate circumstance for all of us to find ourselves in. One of the great frustrations that I feel as a voting member of this board is that with all due respect to the speakers who have expressed views that I'm very sympathetic to, I don't know what our alternative would be, frankly, in a meaningful context. I don't think doing anything, or doing nothing rather, waiting to see what happens is really a wise course under the circumstances. And while I really have reservations about, looking back on the history of Compton, the implications of some of the concerns growing from that experience that have been raised this morning, I understand that, this is an imperfect decision that this board is entertaining, but somehow I would really wish that there would be a way for us to have some alternatives presented that have, not been presented. Short of that, I feel like it's our responsibility to act. And I guess I'm expressing frustration perhaps about our process, not that, I'm pointing the finger at any particular actor in the process. It is a frustrating circumstance that, leads us to have to make imperfect decisions, but I think action is required to do something rather than nothing. And I think that's the reason why I'm inclined to begrudgingly and unhappily support these measures, just on account of that rationale.
Vice President Baum?
I have a question related to the specific motion before us. We were able to appoint a special trustee almost a year ago, I believe, without having to change the regulation. Why is it necessary to change the regulation in this case?
The reason why we are bringing this change to you is to provide the board with as much authority as you possibly can have to appoint the special trustee. The regulation, as it was previously written, was really designed for the Compton situation, and the regulation has not been amended since then. And although there are criteria in the existing regulation that align with the situation at a City College of San Francisco regarding fiscal challenges and such, the termination of accreditation is not specifically spelled out in the regulation. And we wanted to make it perfectly clear that termination of accreditation in and of itself is the basis for the appointment of the special trustee. So there are the fiscal management issues as well as the termination of accreditation. And termination of accreditation was not listed, and we wanted to have that in there, frankly, to protect the board as much as possible against challenge.
So what this is doing is adding accreditation loss of accreditation to the categories by which would justify the appointment.
That's
of a s-
correct.
And it hadn't been there before.
Exactly right.
Are there any other instances that we hadn't thought of that a special trustee might need? Fiscal is one, loss of accreditation. Is there any other situations that should be considered?
Well, none come to mind right at the moment. You know, we are careful about the appointment of a special trustee. It's not something that the Chancellor's office takes lightly. So we don't want the options to be excessively broad. We want them to be focused on only the most critical cases.
Good, because as a local trustee, I don't want to necessarily think that Chancellor's office will say if any district that offers a new academic program that it doesn't like could declare that a crisis, that a special trustee should be brought in. So it's trying to be as prescriptive and limited as possible.
Correct.
Tell me again, just so we know, what are the situations fiscally that would require, like, at what state does a district cross the threshold from, according to this regulation, from being independent to being considerate for a fiscal trustee, a special trustee intervention?
Well, there's a certain level of subjectivity involved. It has to, the issue is how severe are the fiscal circumstances at a district, and in most cases, and in this case, there was a detailed study conducted, and that study listed a whole series of issues and challenges. FICMAT was retained and did a detailed study, and it's referenced in the report. And FICMAT indicated that there were a number of problems at City College of San Francisco that were quite unique to City College of San Francisco that did not exist elsewhere. And they pertain to the level of reserve, the controls over fiscal controls, the level of the percentage of the budget that went to personnel-related expenses. A number of those issues were unique to the City College of San Francisco. So those were the sorts of things that FICMAT noted and that the Chancellor's office has taken note of.
Any additional discussion? I just have one quick one. For further clarification, the decision to have a special trustee will not be construed by the Accreditation Commission as another item at issue?
Yes, I think it certainly will be in the short run. I think part of the rescue plan has to involve addressing all of the standards and the eligibility requirements. And I'll detail some of this in the presentation that I'll make prior to you considering the action, but part of that is ongoing work with the mayor's office on steps necessary to restore that board to authority at the appropriate time.
Okay. We have one more public comment, so.
And I do have one more question, too.
Okay. Go ahead with your question.
I have one last clarification on the regulation. I just want to make sure that I'm clear. It says, or if a college is operated by the district is in jeopardy of losing its accreditation or to maintain the accredited status. So I want to just be clear. In your mind and in our system's mind, would it be any college that is on show cause could then, is that cross the threshold, or is a college on probation? Could the Board of Governors say, well, you're on probation, you're in jeopardy of losing your accreditation, we're going to consider appointing a special trustee?
I think read most broadly, an argument could be made that if a college on probation could be reaching that point, and that would be a decision that would be made by the Board of Governors on a case-by-case basis. Because the special trustee with the full powers that we're talking about here would only be appointed if approved by the Board of Governors. So it does provide authority to do so, but it would be a case-by-case determination. And I can say that this it's not the intent of this regulation to open the door that widely, but it could be read that way.
Right, so my hope is that we would work closely with the league, I see Scott's here, or others to kind of determine that every college under sanction should not have also looming over their head a chance that a special trustee is in the offing. That I like the idea that there are very clear benchmarks to pass before you get to that point, before a governing board loses its jurisdiction over its own. And so for me, a show cause with then a subsequent kind of letter saying, okay, your accreditation is being terminated as of X date, that's pretty clear. But if it's kind of, you're on probation, I don't think that's clear enough. That's my concern. But I'm hoping we can, that it can be developed over time.
And I can also point out that this regulation is being adopted on an emergency basis.
Right, I
so
understand.
it's effective immediately. It will come back to the board at the next meeting for first reading and the subsequent meeting for action. So the board will have opportunities to work with this regulation. If you'd like it to be phrased differently, that option will be available to the board in the very near future.
Okay, that's good. All right, we have two additional comment cards.
Rich Copenhagen from the Student Senate of California Community Colleges. A reminder, speakers are limited to 3 minutes.
All right, I will keep it short. Thank you, and thank you, board members, Mr. President, Mr. Chancellor. So this is a very monumental issue that we're facing, a very big challenge, and the students have been fairly involved at their college at CCSF. I actually represent City College of San Francisco on our state board, and there have been a lot. Sorry about that, I touched the mouse. There have been a lot of challenges with that involvement and figuring out an equitable way to accurately represent 85,000 students in an accreditation process, especially when students aren't involved on the accrediting commission. And I think that it would be remiss of this board to be making this big of a decision so rapidly without any students sitting on the Board of Governors, and I understand that's totally not in your control, and we've been trying to work with the governor's office to get those appointments done as quickly as possible, but there aren't students now, and appointing one person to oversee resolving issues at a school that serves, 4%, 85,000 students in our system, the biggest institution in the nation, that's a really big deal. And I think that without a very well-represented board, we may not have the best result possible, and waiting until your next board meeting to consider this might be a better avenue, at least something that we'd be more comfortable with. And we would love to talk more with you about that and talk with the Chancellor's office. I know this is an emergency thing that came up, but thank you very much for taking the time.
And the last card from Scott Lay from the Community College League of California.
Thank you, President Baca and board members. I do not speak on the propriety of appointing a special trustee. I believe the Chancellor and the board may have more information than I or other members of the audience may have at this time. I only speak on the propriety of the changes to 58312. I do believe that with our existing MOU, which we probably should share copies of, that the California Community College Trustees and the Board of Governors adopted an MOU a couple of decades ago, I think at this point, that recognized that you will always act to the maximum extent feasible in the interest of local control. I believe that this regulation change does meet that criteria. It allows an emergency power. The fact is, when an accreditation is when accreditation loss is imminent, and this will be one of those items that if we ever have to test again, we may have to define the word imminent, then the fiduciary interests of the state and the taxpayers are triggered. And so this particular change, I think, does meet the criteria of our MOU. Again, I'm not speaking on the propriety of the appointment. Obviously, a very difficult issue for both you and the Community College League of California, as I work for both the institution and the trustees.
Okay, any further comments? We have had a call for the question. All in favor?
Oh, no, I call for the question.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. The amendment is approved. The changes are approved.
Thank you, President Baca. Members of the board, I am going to address item B, the appointment of a special trustee. And in anticipation of your consideration of that, it's my goal in the next few minutes to provide you an update on the status of the institution in light of what's happened in the last few days. I would remind the board that this particular institution is not the only one of ours that has faced show cause or is facing show cause. You are aware that both College of the Redwoods and Cuesta College were put on show cause and were removed in January of 13. They had made adequate progress. The commission moved one of them to probation and the other to warning. The board's also aware that College of the Sequoias is currently on show cause, and they will be considered again in January of 2014. I also would remind the board that there are extremely important reasons for accreditations of our institutions. Obviously, students need accredited institutions in order to transfer credit to receive both federal and state financial aid, and in terms of the institution itself, it must be accredited in order to receive state financial support. The levels of sanction that are typically used by the commission are three, the least serious being that of warning, the middle level being that of probation, and the most severe being that of show cause. And as you read those descriptions, you will see that in the case of warning, the institution deviates from the standards. Probation deviates significantly from the standards, and in show cause, substantial noncompliance, and that is where, in this case, City College of San Francisco finds itself. I would remind as well the board that this is a process that's been of concern for some time. These concerns were first leveled by the commission against the college in their regular review in 2006. They subsequently made a midterm report on those, and then when the commission came, that satisfied the commission, and then when the commission came back in 2012, they found those concerns not to have been addressed and consequently put the institution on show cause. The college then made its report to the commission in March, and at that time, by its own volition, acknowledged it had not lived up to the standards. And then in July, just last week, that is when the commission ruled to terminate the accreditation of the college effective in July of next year. The reasons for this run the gambit. They have to do with finances, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. Governance, certainly, planning, student learning outcomes, academic program evaluation, all of these issues. In fact, when you look at the report of the commission, and I've provided you a copy of the action letter that took place that the college received recently, they are out of compliance with 4 of the 21 eligibility requirements, and those are, all 21 of those must be met for a college to even be eligible for accreditation in the first place. And then they are out of compliance with parts of all 4 of the accreditation standards. So this is a significant deviation across the board, not only in the standards but in eligibility. In addition to that, as Vice Chancellor Bruckman mentioned, there have been not 1 but 2 FITMAT reviews of the institution back in September of last year. FITMAT suggested the college had no plans for financial stability and assumed revenues that were not guaranteed. Subsequently to their good fortune, both Prop 30 and their own parcel tax passed. They have a large full-time faculty average on balance with the rest of the state, no enrollment management. In fact, at one point, We're not collecting student enrollment fees. Way too much interim management in the institution, and to quote FitMat, they were facing financial insolvency and operational dysfunction. Subsequent to that, FitMat was sent in again to take a look at the controls in the institution, and that report will be released later this month. However, last week on Thursday, the draft report was released to the board of the college, citing a lack of skilled staff at all the levels, unauthorized wage rates changes, staff payroll overpayments and no way to collect those, 125 people with complete and unfettered access to the payroll system, which is virtually a lack of control. Although the FitMat suggested that vacation and sick leave were being reported accurately, there's no verification of that. Nobody assigned to position control within the institution. Employee benefits are not reconfirmed annually. In other words, if there are folks who are on those health benefits, there's no way to know whether they still deserve them annually when that comes up. Their data systems, they're on DataTel, and it's so overly customized that it's virtually impossible to update that system. So both FitMat and the Commission have talked about the challenges faced by the institution. Now, the Commission really had three alternatives last week. They could have moved the institution if it had made adequate progress to a lower level of sanction, as they did in the couple of cases I mentioned a moment ago. They could have allowed the institution to stay on show cause. That's rare and usually only takes place if there's information the Commission feels it does not have. And unfortunately, the alternative the Commission selected was to terminate accreditation effective the pending appeal or in June 14. Now, what that would mean to the college, ultimately, if accreditation ultimately is terminated, it could no longer accept any new students. It would have to teach out all of the students that are in existence. And I think it's important to note that accreditation, as long as this appeal process and review process runs, the institution is accredited. And accreditation and termination of accreditation is designed at all costs to protect the students. So if accreditation is ultimately terminated, the college is required, working with other institutions and of course with the State Chancellor's Office, to make certain that students are not left holding the bag. If termination were to be the case, the college would no longer receive state funding. It would be unable to meet its financial obligations and at some point would be no longer be a going concern. Now, what happens before the termination of accreditation? The college can file a review of Commission action. It can subsequently, depending on the outcome of that, file an appeal of the Commission. During that time, the college can continue to admit new students until all that review and appellate activity is exhausted, and that process is likely to take at a minimum a year and likely longer than that. What impact does intervention have on the institution? Well, certainly it means that if we intervene, the accreditation pending the outcome of the appeals continues. The Chancellor's Office, through its special trustee and the college staff, continue to work to address the concerns of the Commission. The intervention would begin to address Commission concerns about the College Board, because in the meantime, or in the short run at least, the special trustee would take over those powers, and it would immediately improve the college's relationship with the Commission, because the Commission would be dealing with the special trustee rather than the board. What it does not mean, what intervention does not mean, is that it doesn't grant the institution additional time to address the concerns of the Commission. It does not lessen the accreditation requirements of the college. It certainly does not void the collective bargaining agreements with the several unions with which the college has a relationship, and it does not ensure a successful exit from termination. And this board needs to know that this process does not guarantee saving the institution. There's a lot of hard work left ahead. So why then should the state intervene? Well, very simply put, there are 85,000 plus current students and more who need in that institution who will be denied access to higher education if that institution ceases to exist. Yes, some of them probably could go to Marin or to the East Bay or the South area, but there's a large percentage of these students for whom City College of San Francisco is their only alternative. It is the largest workforce trainer in the Bay Area, and certainly the Bay Area's employment and workforce needs would be stressed without the college. It is a critical public institution for a prominent California city, and this would mean a financial default of a very large public institution, and frankly, the threatening of thousands of employees who would stand to lose their jobs if the college were closed. Now, what would be the effect of intervention? Well, the Board of Governors would need to approve the rescue, and immediately upon that, we elevate the special trustee and set aside the existing board. They are still elected officials. They just, in the short run at least, have no authority to govern the institution. File for commission review and ultimately for appeal. We'd work to meet those standards while that appeal is underway, and at near the end of that appeal process, we would seek for the commission to reverse their decision to terminate the college. And obviously, the standards, the commission would need to be convinced that the college had made significant progress in order to, at a minimum, move them back to probation or warning, or if at all possible, off of sanction. Would there be a need for special legislation or a financial bailout? As was the case in Compton, that cost the state of California about $30 million in terms of a loan, and then ongoing costs to El Camino to operate. At this point, we do not believe that is necessary. However, as you heard one of the previous speakers say, enrollment and the maintenance of enrollment is extremely important. This shows you the combined credit and non-credit enrollment of the institution, and the change you see between 8 and 11 is fairly typical of the colleges across the state. However, as you see, the dramatic drop-off between 11 and 12 is when that show cause order was put into place. Here you see the credit head count only, and you see actually a slight uptick in 11 in their enrollment and then a dramatic drop-off. And so no need for state financial support would be with the assumption that the college could stabilize at some point its enrollment. Now, we do have stabilization, and so the college would have a year to stabilize their enrollment, but this is something that certainly is of great concern. What help from the state would be needed? Well, obviously the support of this rescue effort and the support of the chancellor's office in that activity. Hopefully an expression of confidence in the plan to rescue the college, and at some point a willingness to revisit the need for special legislation and finance if that later became necessary. I want to underscore the importance of concerns about the accrediting commission versus City College of San Francisco. As this board knows, I've appointed a task force to take a look at accreditation, and that group has been doing some really good work and coming forward with some recommendations ultimately not only for the commission but for our colleges and for the commission and our colleges together. But it's extremely important that we separate concerns about accreditation from City College of San Francisco, because we do not, as I know this board knows, have the luxury of time to debate out that first issue while standing on the sidelines waiting for it to be solved while the college ends up being sacrificed with the loss of accreditation. Frankly, the civic leadership in San Francisco is in support of this effort. The mayor and area legislators have expressed their support, and you have in front of you a copy of a letter that was sent to me by Mayor Lee, and you are aware that he's been eminently supportive of our intervention and solution to these challenges facing CCSF. The college, frankly, does not have the luxury of time to delay this decision or to look for some other kind of solution. We are at the end of the rope, so to speak, and need to act and act quickly. This is an extremely difficult decision, one that none of us wants to make, one that I certainly don't want to recommend, one that I, as a new chancellor with an agenda for improved student success and restoration of access, do not look forward to the challenge that lies ahead. However, We have to save the education for the 85,000 students that are in that college and the many, many thousand more who need an education and won't have one if City College ceases to exist. And therefore, it is my recommendation that the Board of Governors find there exists a need to take immediate action on an amendment to California Code Regulation 5 and appoint a special trustee for San Francisco City College, and that the need for action came to the attention of the board subsequent to the agenda being posted, and it is further recommended that the amendment to Title V, Section 58.312, and appointment of a special trustee be added to the July 8-9 agenda. Steve, which one am I supposed to be reading?
The last one.
The last one. Item B, it is recommended that the Board of Governors adopt Resolution 2013-04 authorizing the appointment of a special trustee for San Francisco Community College District with the authority to assume management and control of the district. I so recommend for your consideration.
Okay, motion? Member Asumi?
I move based upon the Chancellor's recommendation and the specific wording.
Okay, Member Asumi's motion, and he's the second. Member Hawkins, discussion. Before we get to board discussion, we've got some public comment.
Okay, we have a number of cards. Remember, speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. We first have Christina Whalen from the City College of San Francisco.
Please pick up the mic.
Following,
She'll have to.
following,
Oh, they're working, okay.
yeah, and following Ms. Whalen, there's Karen Saganon.
Good afternoon. I'm Christina Whalen. I'm a faculty member at City College of San Francisco. I'm chair of the Speech Communication Department. I'm director of the Speech and Debate Program. I'm a member of the Accreditation Steering Committee, and I'm also the recently appointed Student Learning Outcomes Co-Coordinator with Katrin Weiss. It is in my last title that I sit before you today. Even if we believe that the ACCJC is legitimate and acting legitimately, it is still possible to conclude that they have reached illegitimate conclusions. The case study that I bring before you today is the accreditation team's finding that we did not meet recommendation or come into compliance with recommendation number 4 concerning student learning outcomes. A couple of bullet points to prove my case study. Before, when we were put on show cause, we did have excellent assessment in many departments, but it was unshared. There was no requirement for program mapping. There was no assessment plan. There was no program review SLO report, and there was really little college-wide dialogue. It was clear we had problems. In 9 months' time, we have reversed direction on nearly every one of those bullet points. We now have comprehensive, transparent, accessible SLO reporting. We have 100% compliance in course student learning outcomes and also in program learning outcomes. Our administrative unit outcomes before 0, now 42. Counseling outcomes before unknown, now 22. All of this shows that we are providing excellent instruction to our students, and our statewide scorecard also triangulates that data, showing that compared to area community colleges and statewide averages, we best all in almost every category. The visiting team members' reports differ significantly, dare I say widely, from the decision letter that was issued on July 3rd. And I believe, given all of that, we have a very strong case for appeal or review. Our work, for whatever leadership structure is shown, will be given full cooperation and, to the best of our ability, our ability to argue. But the disconnect between the evidence that we presented and the conclusions that we reached should also bring strong scrutiny from the Board of Governors. Thank you.
Karen Saganon from City College of San Francisco, followed by Dr. Edward Hansen.
Karen Saganor, I am the past president of the Academic Senate at City College and a librarian. This is a terrible occasion for all of us. I think you are well acquainted with how much the faculty and really the employees of City College care about providing the best possible education opportunity to students. The folks who have been most critical of us have always acknowledged the real passion for service that they find at City College. We have been doing everything that we can to meet the standards. We have, as you heard in this case with student learning outcomes, we had every reason to believe that we were being successful. The visiting team that came and visited with us literally cheered our success in that area. The draft visiting team report, I believe, showed that we were meeting that. One of the pieces of information you do not have in front of you yet is the visiting team reports. I don't know why that has not been published yet, but it's not yet available to see what that says. We believe that the folks of San Francisco deserve to get educational quality, and we believe that the purpose of accreditation is to verify that a quality education is being offered, and we have done what we can, and we will continue to do absolutely everything we can, both to continue to offer that quality of education and to document, verify whatever it is that is needed. We appreciate your sharing our deep concern for making sure that City College continues. We hope that what you're doing is the action that will, in fact, we have these concerns about, well, if by putting aside our board, we've just disqualified ourselves for accreditation, then this won't be a helpful action. We hope that you take all that into consideration, and that in appointing a special trustee, you appoint someone who will, in fact, make sure that that the whole institution matches that level of dedication and of service to the students of San Francisco, and that we do continue to provide this kind of level of service. We're as I said, we have additional concerns about what will the extraordinary powers be that this person will have? What is their executive authority? Will it match what's needed? Will it match what the ACCJC demands? And thank you very much for hearing our concerns, for taking action, and please take for us the best possible actions.
Dr. Edward Hanson from CCSF, followed by Dr. Anita Greer from the Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Board. My name is Dr. Edward Simon Hansen. I'm faculty at City College and chair of the biology department. I just want to preface my comments by going back to some solid educational theory from which we all, I'm sure, came. If you're going to try to teach someone something, the first good practice is to assess their existing knowledge. From that, it follows that if you have clear objectives, then you can partner with your students to meet those objectives. For City College, we have suffered in this last year from a feeling from the people who have literally moved mountains on the ground with the faculty, getting together SLOs and getting together everything that needs to be done, from a feeling that the goalpost is moving, that we have moved mountains only to find out that those mountains didn't quite reach the point that they were supposed to be at. I speak now to the effector arm of this board, in that you are now considering appointing a special trustee. Again, in that we have had a special trustee appointed voluntarily almost a year ago, we are now looking at another action to happen. I am worried that that special trustee is stepping into a catch-22 situation, that they will be destined to fail as well, for many of the issues that have already been raised here today. One of those issues, from my understanding, is the ACCJC's own bylaws, which say that in an appeal situation, we've had 1 year of being on show cause, where we could show our action in that year. We have now been dealt a hand of termination. The assessment of termination, from my understanding of the ACCJC's bylaws, does not allow you to progress new information, but to look back at the decision that was already made. which means whoever is going to step in at this point is going to have to get involved in this issue of conflict between the ACCJC and this board and what those standards are and that decision of this standard. I understand very clearly that we cannot wait for City College to have an action be taken until a resolution is coming on any other complaints or issues against the ACCJC. But I have seen in this past year, people come into City College and at City College come up with plans and agendas that we have now been told did not meet the ACCJC standards. If what this board is going to do is apply another special trustee to come in with another agenda, we will all jump to meet it, and my worry is that we will find ourselves once again short. For that reason, on the effector arm of your decision, I really implore that you use new eyes to look at the existing plan that has come together, and that whether we really did fall short in what areas. The partnership that is needed now with City College is a clear objective, and you have a faculty and a student population that will literally move mountains to get behind it, because nowhere in this do they believe that their educational quality is any less than any place else, that we take pride in that. And in that, it is an insult to tell someone, well, we're going to shut you down, but you're doing a good job. That's probably square one, and I just really implore you to think about that before moving rashly. I understand as a board, you want to do something today because we are at the 11th hour, but that really has to be a thought-out decision, and it may have to be something that we go back and look at the role of the ACCJC and City College and the evaluation, lest this just become your Waterloo, as it feels like in last year it has been our Waterloo.
Your time has elapsed.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Anita Greer.
Good afternoon, Chancellor Harris, Dr. Baca, and members of the Board of Governors. I really appreciate the opportunity to express my opposition to Chancellor Harris's intent to appoint a special trustee who would have more power than the democratically elected members of the Board of Trustees. I question the authoritarian implications of that plan, and I believe that our collective judgment is invariably superior to individual judgment. Members of the Board of Trustees have not only a mandate from the people who elected us, but also a moral and fiduciary responsibility to about 92,000 students, more than 2,600 staff, and faculty, and all the people of our progressive and diverse city. The City College of San Francisco community has worked extremely hard and, in my view, effectively to remedy the problems that the ACCJC and FICMAC have pointed out in their respective reviews and reports. City College has always been recognized as having high-quality instruction and enlightened personnel, policies, and practices. In the past year, many people at San Francisco, and in the past year, the accreditation process and the future general performance of a great college that the people of San Francisco need and respect. Some specific points that I believe are relevant to this meeting and to any discussion of City College's performance and future. Great efforts went into improving the students' learning outcomes, and there have been positive assessments of that progress. In fact, one knowledgeable educator observed that City College has done the best job in the state in improving SLOs. The department chairs have helped to prevail during the crisis. Those groups also worked with other constituencies at CCSF. There was organized labor, various communities, and religious organizations and other allies, in terms of fiscal stability. In my view, the problems at CCSF didn't warrant the extreme sanctions imposed by the ACCJC. It's also troubling to hear that ACCC, the visiting team, had a very different assessment of CCSF's performance than the Accreditation Commission composed in the final report. I'm firmly convinced that City College is on a firm path of stability. We need a respite now. from the destabilizing influence of the past 15 months. We must choose a permanent chancellor who has the vision, intelligence, communication skills, long-term commitment, and humanity to ensure that we continue to serve the human and educational needs of the people of San Francisco. I think the best way to accomplish this is to honor the democratic process that elected us and not replace the Board of Trustees or determine our authority by granting extraordinary powers to one individual. CCSF has the collective intelligence, will, and resources to solve our problems. I've been a public teacher and administrator for more than 35 years, and I've been on the CC Board of Trustees, City College of San Francisco Board of Trustees for almost 2 decades. CCSF needs policymakers like me and my colleagues in order to make the decisions for us. Thank you.
Okay, members, discussion? Vice President Baum?
I just have a number of questions. First off, I want to understand also how it would work, but on the prescribed path, has there been a situation where the Accreditation Commission has announced a decision to terminate accreditation and then upon appeal or review has changed that decision?
Yeah, I don't know about the rest of the country. There has not been that decision in the West in the 23 or 4 years that I've been involved.
Right. So this is uncharted territory.
Yes, it is.
You're recommending to the board that we authorize you to appoint a special trustee with extraordinary powers. How does a special trustee work? Because it's still a public agency. How are decisions made? How are they? How's the public informed? And because does the board continue to meet, and does the special trustee convene meetings in some ways? How does that work?
Well, it's difficult to say exactly how it would play out in this instance. In the beginning, although the board may decide it wants to meet, the special trustee will be the sole decision maker, working, within the constituent groups in the institution. I think any pathway forward has to involve participation by the college community as well as the special trustee. At some point, the board needs to begin to re-engage in the institution because, as has been pointed out, whether you get the commission to reverse its decision, and that requires complete compliance with all of them, and therefore off-sanction completely, or whether the commission will be willing to simply put the college back on probation or on warning to allow it to finish whatever work is left to be done. But in the beginning, the special trustee will be elevated to serve as the board, and it will be in that capacity that she or he will make those decisions.
So for example, the trustee would need to hire a chancellor for the district. How would the trustee do that and then report that?
That's a great example. The need for a permanent chancellor in that institution, I think all of us would agree, is paramount. And so I would expect a special trustee to conduct a pretty rapid process within the confines of the law, notification and noticing, and then to involve the college community in looking at the finalists, and then to ultimately make that decision. And that needs to be done sooner than later. I would certainly hope that a permanent chancellor could be in that institution no later than October the 1st, and in the best of all worlds, perhaps as early as September the 1st.
Mm-hmm. Let me. I just have a couple of other questions, and others may come up. There has been a special trustee at that district for a year. What decisions can we anticipate a new special trustee making when there's already been a special trustee that has the power to veto any decision of the existing board? What would we get different? What was, or a better way to say, what wasn't the current board doing that the new trustee would do, especially when we've already had a special trustee there for a year?
Well, and I don't want to spend a lot of time beating up the existing board. There's not a lot to be gained there. I think what is better is for me to talk about how I envision a special trustee taking action, and that is in a much more rapid manner. I mean, the decisions have been very, very slow in coming. I think the accrediting commission did commend the college on hitting some of those standards, and I think all of us who've been interacting with the college would acknowledge there's been a great deal of work done. However, if you look at either one of those FITMAT reports, there are basically broken systems in an institution that need to be corrected and corrected quickly, and that probably means bringing some different people into some different positions. It certainly means getting some permanent employees in some of those positions, and that work needs to take place quickly. What we've seen over the past year is, unfortunately, many of those decisions take far longer than we have the luxury for in this case.
Then my last two questions. One is, what will be your if we give you the authority to recruit a special trustee, what is going to be your process for appointing that person, and how will the public and the board be kept informed? And what are you looking for in that person, and how will you go about finding and installing that person?
I think the greater leadership challenge right now is a permanent chancellor. So I envision elevating the current special trustee, Bob Agrella, into this extraordinary powers role, and really working with him on a week-to-week, in some cases day-to-day basis, to chart out a pathway over the next month or two to get a new permanent chancellor hired, to get some of the other key personnel decisions made, to begin establishing a really clear game plan for exactly how we're going to meet each and every one of those standards and substandards. Whether Robert Agrella is willing to do that over the long haul or not, I don't know, but there's been a great deal of good work done, and to completely change the team at one time doesn't make any sense. So Robert Agrella will be in that post in the beginning, and time will tell for how long and exactly how that transition gets made. But the top priority is finding a committed, permanent chancellor for that institution as soon as possible.
And I'm assuming, though, going from a trustee with veto capabilities to having full capacities of the board is a much more time-intensive position than he's been doing otherwise, and you believe that he, at least in the short term, will be able to continue in that role?
I do.
My last question is, wasn't as part of this last process the district supposed to come up with a close-down plan?
Closure plan.
Closure plan. Mm-hmm. And what is the status of that? Theoretically, should they be moving to implement that closure plan?
They've submitted a closure plan to the commission, which was found to be unacceptable, so it has to be revised. Yes, there probably are going to be some preliminary activities on that plan that, once it's approved, will have to run parallel to the attempt to try to appeal and retain the accreditation of the college. This is a very steep hill to climb in a very short period of time, and you do have these almost conflicting activities going on side by side.
Those are my questions for now.
Member Ramos?
So I just want to follow up on that line of very excellent questioning from Member Baum. What would be, Chancellor, the relationship between this special trustee and yourself and this board, respectively?
I envision myself and my senior team having, as I said, probably daily interaction with that special trustee. Especially in the first few weeks, there's going to be a real need to put a clear plan of action in place. Certainly, I will keep this board up to date formally at every one of your board meetings, and informally in between, through written reports. We're going to need to provide a real clear audit trail of what we're doing, so that hopefully at the end, when we are successful, all the people who have worked so hard get the credit for that. If for any reason we are unsuccessful, we certainly need to be willing to shoulder that lack of success and inform anything that would happen in the future. But believe me, we wouldn't take this on if we didn't think there was a chance that we can save this institution. I am fully committed to doing that, as are the members of the executive team. And we think we have the horsepower necessary, working with a special trustee and the great people at the college, to accomplish that.
And so just my follow-up is, hoping for the best but assuming the worst, I can imagine that this is a tough opportunity, if you want to call it that, to get a very talented individual to want to take on.
Yeah,
So
actually,
I mean, perhaps I'm wrong and you know better about that. Perhaps you've had some statements of expression. But if in the worst case, in the short time frame that we're talking about bringing a permanent chancellor on there, we cannot identify someone of sufficient stature or competence that we have in that individual to do it, what are the implications of that?
well, that would not be an acceptable outcome. Frankly, we have to attract and employ a talented and committed leader for that institution. And to your first point, we've actually had a number of people express, I think, outstanding leaders express an interest in taking this opportunity on. There are a lot of people in our line of work who see this as a tremendous challenge, as an opportunity to really help a community and students and a faculty and staff get through what are some very rough waters. And I am guardedly optimistic we're going to have not one, but more than one good leader available for the college to consider.
And I'm sorry to extend the question, but your comment triggers this. What would be the role in the employment process for this new permanent chancellor of these surrounding stakeholders in that community? What kind of role would the faculty have, the staff, students, other important stakeholders in that district?
I think this is such a critical hire that there has to be an opportunity for the college community to meet and talk and question the finalists. I think certainly the civic and governmental leaders of the community are going to want to be involved. Mayor Lee plays a huge role in the success of this endeavor, and so it's critical that he have a chance to communicate with the finalists. The decision will ultimately be made by the special trustee, but no new leader coming into a community and an environment and a situation like this will be successful unless there is a reasonable level of support from the stakeholders in the community for the new leader.
I agree wholeheartedly with that last point. Thank you for your response.
Any other discussion? Vice President Baugh?
If there's no other, I just wanted to make a statement.
Okay.
Too. It's, this is a really tough call to make because a couple of us serve as local trustees, and in essence, by this vote, we're taking Anita's voice away, we're taking Natalie's voice away, and others, and that's something that the people of that community asked, elected these individuals to serve in that role, and I understand the issues with the accreditation process, but I also understand the clock that's ticking, and every time a tough decision comes up, somebody says, can't we just wait a little bit and gauge the impacts? And I'm sympathetic to that, and there's cases in my local district where I thought, oh, it might have been better to wait as opposed to acting. But at the same time, I don't, and I've said this before, we can't stand by in the hopes that things will change without doing everything we can within our power to implement the change. And for the faculty that were here and the students that have spoken, we on the board of, at least me as a member of the Board of Governors, is on the side of the faculty and the students of that institution, because it doesn't serve anybody's interest to see the institution not continue, and that would be a disaster for the entire Bay Area and the entire state of California. So it's a tough decision, and I think that it's, I wish one of the things as I don't know is how long the decision would continue, and is there a plan to then reinstate a local control over the district after, at some point. We've seen with Compton that this has gone on much longer than we ever anticipated that before, and there's no sign in the near future that Compton is going to regain its independence in its jurisdiction. And that would be a situation with San Francisco I really would not want to see happen, that we are in the long-term kind of oversight and have the jurisdictional control. I don't know if there's any thing. I could see if anybody wants to respond to that as well. But in essence, we're going to, I think we all then assume the roles that we think that Anita and Natalie and others should play. But this also will send a message to trustees up and down the state about what is your primary responsibility as a trustee. And as an elected official, it's the management and oversight of the CEO of the district, maintaining the physical integrity of the district, and also maintaining the institutional accreditation. If I've maintained at least those three things, then I think that we've done our primary mission for the district, and that's where I'd like to keep us focused. And I think sometimes, and I will say this even on my local board, we tend to get pulled in so many directions, we lose track of what's the core responsibility of a governing board. And I hope that other institutions up and down the state are beginning to refocus on what their role is in the governance process of a community college district. And so, I was troubled a year ago when John Rizzo came to this board and said, yes, our audits had terrible findings year after year after year. We did nothing to address them. Yes, we had accreditation issues, and we did not successfully address them. And I was concerned by that this wasn't something that happened in a year or two. This is something that the governing board had known for many years and had not made the tough decision to act. And I know how hard it can be when the members of the public and the students and get up there and they elect representatives, and then they demand all kinds of things. And as a trustee, you sometimes have to make that decision that may not seem popular at the time, but maintains the physical integrity and the accreditation of a district, and also ensures strong leadership for the district. So it's a very difficult decision to make and a severe one to make, but those are the issues that I'm weighing as a trustee, as a member of this governing board.
Thank you, Vice President Baum, for those comments. Any other additional comments anyone would like to make? If there are none, all in favor of the motion.
Can we do a roll call vote?
Would you like to do a roll call vote?
Yes.
Fine, okay, let's do a roll call vote. Nindiri, please call the roll call, and in support of the recommendation, please say aye.
Manuel Baca,
Aye.
Jeffrey Baum,
Aye.
Danny Hawkins,
Aye.
Lance Izumi,
Aye.
Henry Ramos,
Aye.
Gary Reed.
Okay, the decision is unanimous, and the recommendation is approved. Before we take a break, I would just like to make just a very brief additional comment. And I think I speak on behalf of all the members of this board. We have tremendous confidence in our chancellor and his team to be able to work with the constituent groups at the City College of San Francisco and the special trustee to resolve this. Last week is a very sad day for me, as it was for all of us that are have the interest of City College San Francisco and the students and faculty and staff there. Today, hopefully by doing this, we have begun a partnership between the Chancellor's Office and the City College of San Francisco that will bring some changes, resolution to what otherwise right now is a grim picture in terms of the accreditation report. I think that some voices have expressed some concerns over the process and the accreditation itself. I think that will work through itself in the appeal process, but in also addressing those things that can be addressed. So hopefully our decision today, and I feel very confident in the leadership of Chancellor Harris, that we'll be able to begin to work with the City College of San Francisco and work towards a more positive end in the very near future. So with that, if we can just take about a 10-minute break.